I recently read an article written by Carlos Serra that I wanted to share with you today. He has many ideas that I agree with, especially when it comes to the Dow Jones Industrial Average and how misleading it is as a barometer of the stock market. It's funny how many times we hear about the stock market in the media and how almost all media outlets equate the stock market to the Dow Jones Industrial Index, or average. We hear constantly, the Dow was up 225 points today, or the Dow plummeted 176 points today. What does this all mean? What if I told you it really doesn't mean much? Do you realize that the Dow Jones Industrial Index is a price-weighted index? What does this mean? It basically means that it may not measure the performance of the U.S. stock market very well. Let's further explore this phenomenon. In 2011, the Dow Jones Industrial Index closed up 5.5%, and if you include dividends, returned 8.4%. Wow, sounds pretty respectable for 2011. Did your portfolio grow at 8.4%? The Dow Jones Industrial Index was created by Charles Dow in 1886. It represents 30 of the largest companies in the United States. I'm sure you've heard of them all. IBM, Microsoft, McDonalds, Walmart, AT&T, Disney, and 24 others. These companies are all in the Dow Jones Industrial Index and have a different influence on how they affect the Dow Index because they have different prices. As of January 25, 2012, IBM Corporation accounted for 11.4% of the Dow Jones Industrial Index, while Bank of America accounted for 0.4%. Yes, that's not a typo. IBM accounts for 11.4% of the Dow Index, and Bank of America only 0.4%. Though IBM's market value is about 3 times that of Bank of America, its weighting in the Dow Jones Industrial Average is 26 times that of Bank of America. Does this make any sense? To illustrate the impact this has on the Dow Jones Industrial Index, on January 20th of 2012, the Dow had a great day and closed up 0.76%. The broad U.S. market, as measured by the Dow Jones U.S. Total Stock Market Index, was basically flat, only up 0.04%. It seems as if IBM accounts for more than 2/3 of the difference. Why is the Dow Jones Industrial Index price-weighted? Remember, when the Dow Jones Industrial Index was created in 1886, they did not have computers that could process the amount of information that can be processed today. Price weighting was the only readily available measure on a daily basis. Remember, at the beginning of this video, we talked about how in 2011, the Dow returned 8.4% with dividends reinvested. If you look to the Dow Jones U.S. Total Stock Market Index over the same time period of 2011 with dividends reinvested, it only returned 0.5%. Over long periods of time, the distortions get even larger. Over the last 10 years, from 2002 to 2011, the Dow was up 19.2%, while the total return for the Dow Jones U.S. Total Stock Market Index was up 46.6%. I would say that's a big difference. What is a better measure of how the stock market is behaving? I think a better measure is the Wilshire 5000, which is comprised of 5,000 companies that are very large, large companies, medium-sized companies, and small-sized companies. Now for an even bigger distortion. This distortion, in my opinion, actually makes the overall stock market much more volatile and a more difficult place to invest for the average investor. On August 10, 2011, we had a quote from Maria Bartiromo of CNBC fame. "Another ugly day on Wall Street today. What are you following, Bob Pisani?" And Bob replies, "Another bloodbath today, Maria. Yes, today was the 9th worst day in stock market history." Wow! Now that will get your attention. Sounds very newsworthy. The worst day for your market historians was October 18, 1987. The Dow Jones Industrial Index was down 508 points, and it was the worst percentage and point loss ever. On that day in 1987, the Dow Jones Industrial Index was down 22.62%. But on August 11, 2011, what was supposedly the ninth worst day in market history was only down 4.62%. Looking back at history, it was not the ninth worst day in stock market history. When you use a percentage measurement, which is what makes the most sense, it was actually the 90th worst day. But opening up your news show as the 90th worst day doesn't get your attention. Actually, it's kind of comical and makes you laugh. What if the people who run the Dow Jones Industrial Index decided that maybe we could have a reverse split and take a 0 off of the Dow? So instead of the Dow Jones Industrial Index being 12,500, where it is today, they would report it as 1,250. Now all of a sudden, the daily swings of 100 points converts to only 10 points. Do you think that may bring more sanity to the stock market? Do you think investors would be less emotional if the market only moved 10 points? It would sure tone down the talking heads, and that would be a good thing. It may also cause people to react in less of an emotional state and become better investors by concentrating on the long term. If you saw my other video about retirement income planning, there's a good chance that you may have to generate retirement income for a 25 to 30 or even 35-year retirement. I would say that is long term. The lesson here today is focus on percentages, not on points. Take in the news with a grain of salt because the talking heads are there to generate ratings and sell commercial airtime. They are not your advisor, and they have no vested interest in your success or failure as an investor. If they don't generate advertising dollars through their ratings, then they don't get paid and the show goes off the air. So again, do yourself a favor, pay attention to percentages and not points. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at 717-541-1000, and you can always email me directly.